Good evening, everybody. I'm Melissa Sawfield. This is a meeting of the Historical Commission of Concord, Massachusetts on April 8th, 2021. And I see that we do have a quorum, so I will invite those who are full members to please speak up. Tom?
Present.
Bob Gross? I think you're muted, Bob.
He's here.
Muted. I see you.
Here we are. The system just decided to mute me.
Okay, and Nancy.
Here.
Okay, also present, Rebecca Lemaitre and Alan Bogosian. And welcome Susan Bates, member of the Select Board, who is observing this evening. So moving right to the first item on the agenda is our Mr. Gower. Is he just not here yet?
Yeah, he said he was coming.
Oh, okay, so we might as well, I think, I would go to number 3, the demolition review bylaw. That's kind of an elaborate project. I hope all of you saw your email late this afternoon. Heather had been working on this. This is, this will be the presentation on April 27th to the Select Board. It's a public hearing about the town warrant, and it will be our one opportunity to make a presentation about our the proposed changes, because as I think you heard at the last meeting, this will not be individually presented at the town meeting. It'll just be grouped. So I want to make sure that you all have had an opportunity to read through this, and if you have any suggestions, please speak up. So I'd like to move to the number 3, the Historic District Commission warrant article to expand the Main Street Historic District. And included in your packet was an HDC map. I presume they really are just looking for us to support this, endorse this, right?
Yeah, so I can do a brief presentation if you'd like, and I can screen share if you just give me a minute.
Okay.
If it shows the pictures of the structures, that would be great.
Yep.
Does it? That's terrific.
2 houses, right? 2 homes.
Mhm. Melissa,
Yeah.
what's the date? The Select Board hearings?
I believe it's April 27th. It's a Tuesday.
Yes, April 27th, we'll be presenting our warrant article at the Select Board hearing. The HDC warrant article is on the Planning Board's public hearing in May. So it's a different public hearing.
Okay.
So let's see. Everyone can see my screen, correct?
Yep.
Okay, and you can
Yeah.
see the warrant article here.
Yeah.
So what they're proposing to do is, so we had a homeowner reach out to us, 21 Thoreau Street, and he was interested in being added to the Main Street Historic District. We had originally reached out to a lot of property owners a couple of years ago about expanding the Main Street Historic District, and it didn't really gain enough traction. We didn't have enough support from everyone that lives there. But this homeowner did come to us afterward and said, I still want this. I want my property in the historic district. And he said he wanted to wait about a year, and then he came to us when he was ready. And we started the process, and then his neighbor also wanted to be added. So what we have is 21 Thoreau Street and 2931 Thoreau Street, which would be added to the Main Street Historic District. So the boundary would be expanded to add these 2 houses in. And then I can show you. Do I not have those up anymore?
Well, for those who know Ned Perry, 21 was where Ned Perry lived for many, many years.
Oh, really?
And that house next door to it, I don't know the folks who live there, but it was a double something.
It looked, I drove by today. I couldn't really slow down because there was a lot of traffic, but I drove by. And 2931, has it had a lot of significant updating? It looks almost modern from the street, but maybe I just couldn't get the other one you could tell was an older historic home, but 29.
2930 has looked like that as long as I think I've been in Concord.
Okay,
Somewhere I read it is a double house of some sort. Bob, I'm hoping you know something.
it's hard
No,
to,
but is it, these are two houses that lead to that fashion store?
they're right next to a hair salon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wait, no, they're. Are you talking about, because we lived at 34, when we lived here in 1970s. And that was right next to the, you know,
Main is,
the cleaners and the hair cutters.
So I think that may be, that you may have lived where the hair. salon-
Hereafter is what it was called. Yeah.
Yeah,
And that's now the salmon colored house that was broken into a duplex. So
Yeah.
this must be across the street.
Right.
no, it's next door to Ned Perry's old house. And it's kind of a pale, light blue.
Yeah, it's like a pale bluish gray.
Yeah,
wow, I wouldn't have said that. I think I know Ned's house. It's next to the house on the corner, the yellow house
Yeah.
on the corner that
Yes.
expanded.
Right,
into
that's
an
what I was thinking.
yard
yes,
practically.
yes, it's right next door to that.
And then there's the other house, and then there's Main Escape.
There it is.
Okay, there we go.
Oh, right.
Whoa,
Yeah,
I know exactly where that is, but it looks totally unrecognizable to me. How funny.
Anyway, so it's this house
Yeah.
and then Ned's to the left of this.
Yeah.
And then Ned's there. And Ned's was the first one?
yeah.
That's 21 Thoreau.
Yeah.
All
Okay.
right.
If you go across the street, you'll see the 34 one.
Yeah, I think we were weren't we seeing, oh, there it is. Right
Hmm.
there.
So,
That, wow, what's the date on that one?
hmm,
About 1850.
50.
Really? Wow.
And you know, it says it's a Gleason house. It wasn't Herbert Gleason's house, was it? I don't know that. I don't know anything.
See,
Victorian eclectic. I love that.
Yeah.
sorry, I have all this information saved and I thought it was still on the HTC's website and it's not. So,
Is Victorian eclectic the name for DIY?
Okay, Belknap Thoreau.
What's 34 say? Oh,
Vernacular Victorian.
so we rented at 34 from a man named Bob Flannery, whose great grandfather, Michael Flannery, was an Irish immigrant in Concord, whom Thoreau knew really well and writes all about Michael Flannery in his journal.
Ah,
And Bob Flannery, whom I knew, was our landlord, but loved Concord history and knew the names of all the roads in Concord that people knew in the 18th century.
well, so comments from any of you? Are we inclined to support this?
I think I am.
I mean, I definitely feel that. I mean, any opportunity to preserve an historic structure, even though obviously they've been changed, but most historic structures have had some change.
Absolutely right.
Tom, you have any comments?
Certainly, no, it's right in the position, what you would call the centre and the age. Certainly, yeah, support it going into the historic district, yeah.
Any other comment?
Well, among the significant residents is a longtime former select person of the town.
Well,
Yeah, that's
well,
right.
Ned, he was a selectman, he was moderator for a long time,
Forever.
right? Yeah, and I think born and raised, I think.
Yes.
Well, so I don't
Great.
think do we need a vote, Heather?
yeah, if I could just get an official vote to support.
Okay, so all in favor of supporting the HDC's warrant article to make 21 Thoreau and 2931 Thoreau Street part of a Main Street Historic District, please
Is
say
there-
aye, but I have to ask you, Tom,
Aye.
Bob,
Aye.
Nancy,
I,
myself, aye, and Rebecca and Alan, I don't ask them, right? But I think you say aye.
think.
Yeah, they
What do you
can
guys
vote.
think?
Okay, thank you. So moving on to, well, updates, I guess I can do a little bit about that, just to ask, well, first of all, I'm gonna ask those of you who, we've identified different committees that you wanted to observe. Does anyone have any reports about, Tom, I think your cemetery, Alan, you're the HDC, and so on, Tom?
I was there yesterday, 4 o'clock. They're quite a little bit longer than ours, like 7.5 hours. No, I'm kidding.
No, whoa.
It was 2.5 hours, and it was interesting because you can get the different culture feel between which I'm used to and comfortable with. It's a different format, and the range of things they were discussing was really wide. The Melvin Memorial. The Friends of Sleepy Hollow, which is Kevin Plosnick, who I know well from my days on the Chamber of Commerce with him. And it was interesting, we were looking at recruitment means, weren't we, Melissa, how they recruit. And it's the same recruitment as for us, but for the Historical Commission. You submit green cards. And there were 2 ladies who had submitted green cards, and they were going to be considered. It was led by Paul Cook, who I know of. So interesting, wide ranging, very interesting, and I will go each month and report back.
Good, thank you. So let's see. Well, I'll just speak for myself. The planning board, I just know that the planning board is meeting next week. They're going to get a presentation on this kind of reimagining the whole Thorough district. Goes from the Crosby's Market all the way actually to roughly where we are. Been talking about these houses, about reimagining housing, kind of commercial, light industry, open space. Some of you may have gone to some of the public hearings that they had. I guess now it must be 2 years ago. I remember I went to one over here at Harvey Wheeler. So it'd be interesting to see what they come up with in their plans for the Thorough area. Nancy, I know you've talked to me a little bit about some of the things you're working on, in addition to, I think Public Works and the CPC, of course, which you
Public
serve on.
Works is coming up, and it's fun for me because Jim Terry is the chair, so that will be really nice. And we recently had a conversation with DPW and the Concord Light Board about the techniques for pruning away from the wires in front of
Oh,
the land trust property.
I'd be very interested.
So that was interesting. CPC meets on the 20th, I believe, and they've pretty well set their recommendations for town meeting. So you can find those in the meeting materials. Heather, you're supporting that now, right? You're back.
Yes, I'm back.
Yeah, great. And Heather's been doing some research on preservation restrictions, and so have I. So one of the questions I have tonight is, Heather, do you have the preservation restriction for the house on Garfield Road?
I might have it.
Okay, and was there ever a preservation restriction on the Wheeler Harrington house? Electa's looking at this too.
I don't believe so.
So I think there is some interest in having a preservation restriction on Wright Tavern, not only the exterior, but the interior, whatever's left. And that the interior is a little more unusual. The interesting thing is preservation restrictions are a bit of a pain, not just because it takes a long time to get them approved. Oops, you guys all disappeared. Whoa, can you still hear me? Oh, there we are up there. Sorry. Yeah, oh, there you are again. If there's a perpetual preservation restriction, that has to go all the way up the chain to the Massachusetts Historical Society. If it is somewhat more limited in the time frame, it can be approved by the Board of Selectmen, the Select Board. So that might be actually helpful in figuring out how to get some additional protection for Wright Tavern.
Okay. Welcome, Peter. Hi, we have another
Hi,
visitor.
Peter.
Welcome.
I'm sorry I'm late. I was just enjoying my wife's amazing cooking, so
Oh,
that's my bad.
Well,
Oh,
good
with
news
that.
is they voted to support the HCC warrant article already.
Oh, all right, then I can leave. I was just here to.
That was
Hang
pretty
out with
easy,
us.
Peter. Very easy, I think, for all of us.
Okay, yeah, thank you. Frankly, it's a little bit of a no-brainer, but thank
Yes,
you.
yes.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll
Um,
stay for a little while. I can stay till 8.
So Alan, you had chosen the HDC, speaking of,
It was interesting to sit in on their meeting, and the a couple of things. They're keeping the center vibrant and working and moving along. They had to deal with some sign issues and just some window issues at Camellas that had fallen out, but it was quick and to the point, and keep the center going. So it was good and very educational. So
can I just ask, was the Jenny Dugan Historic District, how's that coming? Can I ask about that? May I ask that? Was that discussed?
it wasn't discussed when I don't recall that, Peter, when I was there that night. Just this last was it 2 weeks ago when the meeting was?
Last week, I think.
Last week.
Right, yeah. It is on, we've sent a letter out to the neighborhood. I think we're at the moment sort of waiting to hear back from them a little bit. So Heather and I should probably talk about, what the next, we should probably reach back out to them and say, okay, so you've got the letter from us, our position or our ability to support you. What do you say? Because they've got to take the step as a group. I do hear we're getting some good feedback, some positive response, which is great. And we'd certainly be ready for next year's town meeting, but nothing this year.
Okay, thank you.
Sure.
Rebecca, how you chosen the Economic Vitality Committee, Concord Together, different.
Yeah,
Concord.
unfortunately, I was not able to attend Economic Vitality. I'll do so when I can. It's a 4 p.m., which is kind of a crazy time.
It's bad for a mom
For
with
little
young
kids. but I'll go when I can. I have been going to the Concord Togethers, which doesn't necessarily overlap with us, but it's been really interesting and doing lots of good stuff right now in terms of Patriots Day, and just sort of some initiatives to get everybody involved and excited, even though we all can't parade down the street like a normal year. So it's fun. It's fun to sit in on. And then I'll try for the other one whenever 4 p.m. works.
Okay, well, thank you. So other updates, just to, the oral history program, which we oversee with the library. I've been trying to engage the people from the hospital, because obviously we're in a pandemic, and the first respond, and aside from the police and fire, are not nurses and our doctors. So I have been in touch with Chris Schuster, the CEO, who has given me about 12 to 13, 14 folks at the hospital, including the chief operating officer, chief medical officer, and so on, working. And then I'm working with Anka Voss, as you know, who's a special collections curator, who will actually be conducting the interviews. So we will be pursuing that over the next few months. I'm really pleased about that. I do hope also that in the course of all this, we can Mostly we're talking with doctors and nurses and administrator people, but, and actually someone who's in the kitchen department and head of housekeeping. But the idea is to get a real cross section of folks at the hospital, and what they've had to go through throughout the pandemic. The other thing, the Historic Resources Master Plan, which I know I had sent out to you, sort of my draft description of what I think we need to do. And I've been talking with Heather about this. We are going to take this on a little bit more in depth after town meeting. I have more time, but she doesn't, and I really need her help because she's got all the other committees that she supports and to get us through town meeting. But I do think that eventually we will need to write a grant proposal to the CPC for perhaps planning money. We also may be able to write a matching grant request to the Mass Historical Commission as well, because we don't have any money to hire anybody to update the master plan. So we're gonna have to start with there. And I suspect it's gonna take a number of years, but I think we definitely have an idea or several ideas of how to go forward. And again, this would be working with the library where all the oral the documents that support the master plan are housed. Anything more about, I'll just ask you, Heather, about the Wheeler Harrington planning process, or do we know anything more?
It'll be on the warrant for town meeting for funding.
Okay,
So
okay, so we have to wait for that. That's about what I have for the updates. And Mr. Gower is still not here.
nope, I will send him an email right now.
Nancy? Whoops, you're muted.
I'm trying not to editorialize out loud. We could talk about the Wright Tavern futures discussion that happened recently, and some of us, I think, Peter also, right? You were there?
I was there, yeah.
And Bob Gross and Melissa, myself, anybody else? That was really very interesting. And I thought it was amazing because there were absolutely no technical glitches. And I think there were 46 people there or something.
A lot of people.
The gods were with us.
Yeah. And a lot of ideas, various perspectives on what the Wright Tavern could be. And subsequently, I spoke with the Lexington Historical Society folks and arranged for a tour for the Wright Tavern team to go through Buckman Tavern on Lexington Green. So they found that to be really informative and I think somewhat inspirational. The architect and the engineers were not able to go, but which was unfortunate because that would have been very interesting, I think, for them to look at what had been done there together. But
Yeah, and I would say I was very impressed with all the work that the folks at First Parish have done to prepare for that meeting, but the additional thinking they've put into this, and you know, they've got some great big ideas. They're very open to input, I think, from the community. And, you know, I think what we were worried about months ago when they first presented to us, you know, what's the ultimate use? I think they are clearly zeroing in on what is the ultimate use, as well as, you know, caring for the property itself. And so I'm hopeful that it will be rather an exciting saving of the property and the center for something. You know, I followed up with thinking it could be a center for democracy. I think I was thinking about Donald Trump.
Very tiny tavern.
I know, a tiny tavern can have, you know, spawn big ideas.
Well, remember one thing I learned, I didn't know this, and I'm the chair of the standing committee at First Parish this year, the board. So, and I've been a member for 20 years. I didn't know that the Congress was actually held in the First Parish Meeting House.
The
I
provincial
think it was the
Congress.
first
Right, they-
Massachusetts Congress, yeah.
Right, but everybody sort of met in the tavern and said, all right, we got to do something because the
Yeah.
British just dissolved our,
Well, the-
right? As Bob, you know more, yes, obviously.
well, those representative bodies did most of their work through committees,
Hmm.
like us, in a sense. And the committees were small groups that met in taverns. There's a reason why taverns were called public houses. They served public and civic purposes
Hmm.
as well as private ones. My concern after the meeting is that knowing that 2025 is approaching, you got a pretty tight timeline.
Mhm.
I would say you got to be done with a plan and be implementing it by 2024. To
Oh,
be
it's got to
able
be,
to
right, it's got to
really
be
do
done by,
stuff
right. Yeah.
for the 250th, which means that I was struck at the meeting by, what are all your ideas, soliciting community input, but sifting through all those ideas for a plan that you got to get working on within a year. It's going to be tough.
Yeah, it's a short time.
Agreed, yep, agreed.
Maybe the goal should be focused on a fundraising effort for the endowment of the tavern.
Well,
And other things could come along as possible, but
Yeah.
that, they've got 5 committees, right, Peter?
Yeah, only.
Which only, yeah. I remember in Bob's book, The Minutemen in Their World, he can correct me if I'm wrong, but I seem to remember he said that Concord was famous or infamous for its committees before the revolution.
yes,
It's
that's
in
a
the
tradition
water.
that we have upheld.
Right, it's in the
Yeah.
water.
Yes, but those committees were frequently dominated by one or another irascible chair. We have passed that time.
Not,
Oh,
not
no.
this committee.
Not this year. Actually, can I ask you a question? Those of you who attended other committees, true online, but attended, is there a similar culture of committeedom to ours, or are they different?
Well, just from reviewing the Public Works agenda and minutes, very, very crisp and not as far ranging maybe as, and the other thing was, this is good for Heather too. The town manager attended the last meeting. The Alan Cathcart attended and a couple of other DPW people attended. And it has been suggested to me that the town manager might attend one of our meetings if we were ever ready for prime time.
No.
Maybe not, but it would be, I mean, that's all. That's all.
Well, I would point out that history is wide-ranging and far-reaching, and I think the fact that that's how our meetings are conducted is only appropriate because, right?
Mhm.
History isn't just about town managers and kings and princes and presidents.
Yeah. Anybody else?
So any other updates from anybody or any other, we're still sort of waiting. I'm kind of delaying this because this is going to take a while, but
I think we can just move on to our bylaw, our warrant article. And if
okay.
he joins,
Okay.
we can wait till we're done.
So did all of you have an opportunity to print this out or read it? Or
I
pick up-
did not. I read that late in the early evening.
So
So
Heather, can you put it up on the screen? Okay,
anybody else? Am I the only one? Because I'll catch up if I.
no, that's okay. No, I mean, this is, so I just got it this afternoon too. What Heather has done is to present our article and then each of the sections that we are updating, an explanation about why. So this is a.
Yeah, do you want me to walk through the presentation?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, so we have the title page and then the summary that kind of summarizes what our warrant article is about. And then I have it stepped through to walk through the changes individually. So anything that's being removed I marked in red just to make it easy for people to see during the presentation. Green is anything that's being added. So this is, and I lumped it together in like, not by like order in the bylaw, but by the thing that we're changing. So the first one would be changing the definition of historically significant. And then I did a page that kind of explains the reasoning as to why we want to change the definition of historically significant. And we can come back to these. And then next I did the sections that address the change to 50 years or older. So amending section 3.1 and 3.2. And then again, a page that summarizes and explains why we want to make that change. And then the sections that address the delay period, which is section 2.9 and 3.5. And then again, a page that explains why we want to make those changes to the bylaw. And then the two changes that are just eliminating typos at the end and questions and comments. So I tried to make it as straightforward as possible.
What was green again?
Green is what's being added.
All that definition about historical significance is,
Yes, is new.
That's all new.
but it's coming from someplace else.
This is what we've all agreed on.
It's from the Warrant article.
Yeah, okay, okay.
It's from this
What-
Warrant
what-
article that we've been, sharing.
No, but going back to the very beginning, what are the antecedents for this? Did we just make it up? I don't think so. Right?
No, I mean, we've been working on this particular language for about a year.
Yeah, okay, so, okay, I'm just
So
wondering.
it was
where-
partly to clarify what we all agreed upon was historically significant. And all Heather has done is just to pull this thing apart and organize it so that it could be presented in a logical fashion and then have justification.
But these criteria are beyond the Concord Historical Commission, right? These are these just only ours? Only ours?
You mean, you're asking if another town has something like this?
Or the state?
I don't know. I don't know.
Okay, so as far as we know, this is just us.
I think this is a modification of the original language from the first ordinance.
Right. These were our edits to
Yeah.
what.
Right.
Yeah.
what
You know,
we-
it's,
Yeah,
and in this
okay.
particular one is an expansion and clarification, I would say, of what
Okay.
we agreed
No,
is
that's fine.
historically significant.
Yeah, I have no problem with this. I'm just trying to figure out the original inspiration for it.
Heather, can you click on slide number 5 for a second? Or maybe, or the one above that, yep. I think that I spotted
It's
is
a
that a typo there, a 0.
typo. It should be 150 instead of 15, Heather.
Thank you.
Can I ask a couple of questions? I wondered why the definition of 50 years or older was moved from the first definition of historically significant and placed in the later section where it suddenly appears without having been prepared.
I don't understand your question.
Yeah. What's your question?
In the previous version, as I recall, if you go back to the beginning where you're, okay. I thought that 2.7 had in the previous iterations, 50 years or older in that section.
No.
And I thought,
It had the 1941, that's it's being removed from that section. And it was discussed with town council that we don't need to put the 50 years there because the 50 years is to trigger the bylaw. The 50 years doesn't make something historically significant. So we've had these discussions when we discussed the warrant article itself.
okay, yeah. Okay, that's good. My other question is that if you go farther down in the definition of historically significant, yeah, okay. And I don't mean this as a kind of smart ass historian question, but thinking about people who might be objecting in town meetings or something. Associated with one or more historic persons or events. Well, we've moved to a world where any inhabitant, Jack Garrison, a free man of color who escaped slavery, Michael Flannery, an Irish immigrant, women and men, workers and elite landowners, all of them we now think of as historically significant. So, it would be very hard to argue that anyone who lived in Concord for some period of time wasn't historically significant if we thought that their building and era was important enough. What would we do if faced with that kind of argument?
So, I mean, we could say, yes, then a house could be found to be historically significant because of that, but it doesn't mean that the house is preferably preserved.
I feel like that could only be a good thing in that it expands the number of houses that would potentially be saved, right?
Right.
Great, those are great arguments, yeah.
But as Heather points out, it has to find that we still would have to vote and find this because there are A, B, and C associated with this is or. So,
Mhm.
I mean, I also would point out, we really have been looking at this for a long time.
Yeah, we're not really here to discuss the wording of the bylaw
Yeah,
because that's already been submitted. We're
It's
just here
really
to
how,
discuss how the presentation is laid out. Does
Yeah.
it make sense? Is it clear to everyone?
Okay,
yeah, I mean, the language, we have voted on this language quite a while ago. It's really, yes.
but it's been tinkered with over time.
No, we
Town
have,
council, has it not? When was it finalized?
months ago, because.
Months ago, town council made all the changes that
Couple
were
months
made.
ago.
So there's one update that I did that is on the agenda to review that town council made.
Yeah,
Let me just pull that up. So when the
Right here,
warrant review
2.7.
committee, can you guys see this?
Mhm.
When the warrant review committee sat down to review the warrant, they were kind of confused by our bylaw, and I was asked to draft the warrant article, including the whole bylaw. And so I did, and that was sent to town council, and town council came back and said, it's too much to have in a warrant article to have the whole bylaw. So they went through and picked, kind of changed it. It's not changing, it's basically just changing like the layout. It didn't change what we're submitting, what we're wanting to do at all. So what they did was, we didn't have 2.71 listed in the original warrant that we submitted because there was no change to it. So
okay.
2.72 had a change because of right here, the adding the or. So to make it more clear, when someone's reading the warrant, town council said to leave 2.71 in there, even though there's no change to it. So that was something that they changed. And then same thing down here on 3.52. We did not have this in the original warrant that we submitted because there was no change to 3.52. So town council said to put it back in, just so it reads that whole section and people aren't confused about, well, where's 2, where's 1, that sort of thing.
Oh, okay.
Other than that,
helpful.
that's the only change.
That's helpful because what was part of the meeting materials was this final.
Yep.
final.
Yeah, so this is the final warrant that will be in the printed warrant.
Okay.
Just as a question of you, Heather, did Marcia well, no, Marcia probably hasn't seen what you prepared at all. I'm just curious, I want as little discussion about this at the April 27th meeting as possible, because I really hope it just sails through.
Well, we should bring those points up tonight. If there are any confusing things that might make people wonder at the town meeting, right? Or at the hearing.
Yeah,
So,
because at the last time this was presented, which was to the other boards and commissions, there were no questions.
That's awesome. There was something about the secretary's standards, and I have to just ask, as a potential member of the public wondering what's going on here, why is it important to conform to the secretary's standards? I know what I think, but it occurred to me that it might be somebody else's question.
Where are you seeing that, Nancy?
I don't see it right here, but it's in there. It's that it
There's a line.
now it conforms more directly with the federal standards.
I think that's a good question and we can prepare an answer for that.
Okay, what are you gonna say, do you think? It doesn't, I mean, it doesn't really impact, I mean, well, there it is, right there, thank you. Somebody might answer that, but I'm gonna rely on Melissa's
Well,
statement that nobody raised any questions, but.
well, but yeah, but we had a friendly crowd.
Yeah.
But my understanding that it doesn't the National Register, it's an association with the Secretary of the Interior's.
It's the National Register program is administered by the National Park Service, which is supervised
Under the
by the Secretary of the Department of the Interior.
Right, so it all is from the same department.
Yeah, but why we didn't adopt the Secretary's standards or definition for historical significance. So I'm just saying sometimes it comes up why, this is like the F word. Why are we bound by the Secretary's standards? I think the only thing I could think of is that it you're talking about, this goes back to my original question, that the property becomes subject to the bylaw to a rolling 50 years or older to better align with the federal criteria set forth by the Secretary of the Interior. It's Department of the Interior, but that doesn't matter.
The F word is federal.
Yeah, well, it
might-
goes back to my question about where did the historically significant definition come from? And this now harkens back to that definition.
I think that was put together using some of the criteria that's used for National Register nominations.
That's what I was trying to get to. So that, I think that's good to say. And then that becomes important as people who own National Register properties or National Historical Landmarks apply for funding from the federal government, or if federal money is used on those, but maybe to find a point.
Yeah, so maybe we should make this more of a general, I thought the idea really was to align it better with what the national practices for historic.
Maybe say with national standards instead of federal criteria.
So I can change it here on the presentation, but we already discussed this language for the warrant article.
Yeah,
Okay.
we did.
All right,
Yes.
all right.
So
Well,
I can't
I
put
think-
it on the warrant.
Then why are we even bothering?
Well, because I want you to see what we're going to say. We
Oh,
have,
okay.
Heather's
All
right.
right.
We
All right.
discussed this last time. The other thing that I will do is read up on exactly what the federal criteria is. Our whole notion was that the 50-year rule was what it was, it seemed to be, we adopted from the national standard. And that's,
Which was
something-
found somewhere,
well, so we did research on
can't
that,
know.
and there's something like 1,000+ communities
That-
follow
Okay.
that.
Okay,
it was-
that's, now you're getting it. It's widely accepted.
It is widely accepted. And so,
Yeah. Widely accepted, I think, is important.
and in that explanation that, 50 years gave it time for people to evaluate the property, that it wasn't just a passing fancy either, that it was just something popular. Over a 50-year period of time, people could evaluate its real importance.
The other thing, if you get questions, would be that, you know, the thing that comes to mind most prominent, to my mind most prominently, is the postmodern, you know, the modern movement, modern architecture, like Conantum, like.
Well,
the
Conantum actually is, you know, built in the early 50s, so it's way older now.
Yeah.
Um,
But you know what I mean, more modern things that are significant.
yeah, yeah.
Melissa, it seems to me one could say, if this comes up in questioning, that it's one thing for us locally to think something's historically important, but you have to have a wider view to step outside, have a sense of a larger whole, and then you can pinpoint what makes your artifacts and sites historically significant. And we do that effectively by using national standards and seeking to align with them.
Well,
As long as you can point to one.
yeah. I'm not sure I follow quite what you're saying. I mean,
Then
No,
if you imagine somebody said, we don't need these national standards, we're Concord and we know how to do it. We don't have to appeal to anybody else. So the extreme localist view needs to be anticipated and countered with an argument should it come up.
okay, well, that would be great, but I thought, I was thinking the other way around, that we would be better off using what the entire country is more aligned with the national standard, which was 50 years. Concord had been at 75, and we are following more in line with what the rest of the country has done. If they've adopted the 50-year.
Yeah, if you get a question, that's the way to talk.
I don't want to stick with 75 years. I think we all agree that we wanted fewer years, not more.
Right.
But, you know, all these are good questions. I'm wondering how many people are aware of the national standards.
Few. Very few.
Yeah, so I'm hoping that we sort of present a whole lot of words to them and they'll think, oh God, okay, fine, yeah, fine. That's my hope.
Well,
So any other questions or comments
no,
about that?
I think if people have, so if you look through the presentation, if you haven't had time yet, or you look through it again another day, and you anticipate maybe a question that's going to come up, just send me an email with that question so that we can prepare an answer for it.
yeah, I think
That would be helpful. So just send me an email if you think of any questions that we should anticipate, so we can prepare answers.
well, yeah.
You know, when you
Just
read through this,
emphasize national over federal and widely accepted over federal.
I see what you're saying. Yeah. So maybe we substitute national instead of federal. Why
In your own responses or something.
Yeah. The other thing, I know you guys haven't had a chance really to read this, but if you read through what is there, a lot of I think your questions are answered. The whole idea was to present it a justification, and that's what, sorry, so you really didn't have a chance to read through it, but so as Heather says, you know, if you would please go through it and then let her know if there's anything you think should be changed or added.
But it's been submitted, right?
No.
The warrant has been submitted, so we can't change the language in our
Right.
submitted warrant. This
Right.
is the presentation that'll be made on April 27th.
You can change that. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
They've already got it.
Yeah.
That's the Warrant article.
No, that's fine. That's fine.
Okay.
Got it.
Got it. Okay. Well, our 325 Nashoba Road,
So I'd say we'll vote to continue it to our next meeting because he said he was gonna be here. And he's not here. It's an hour later. I've emailed him. And I don't think we should be discussing it without the applicant here. So
Oh,
I'd
no.
say continue it to the next
Especially-
meeting.
oh, no, not at all. No, although I'm interested that area could be designated an historic district? Has there ever been a movement to, Peter, may I ask you, has there ever been movement to designate the Nashoba Hill area as an historic district?
There, not to my knowledge. It could be, but I don't think, not that I know of.
Yeah, I know, I think I read that, in the master plan, which is 20 years old. Okay, just curious. Okay,
look up
well,
that too.
unless there's any other new business,
I do need someone to move and second, continuing the public hearing to the meeting on May 27th.
okay, so do I have a motion to move the discussion on 325 Nashoba Road? Nancy, do I have a second? Thank you, Alan. Moved and seconded. The other thing, may I go back to?
A vote on that, sorry.
Oh, I'm sorry. So all in favor of continuing the discussion on 325 Nashoba Road, please say aye. Nancy? Bob?
Aye.
Tom?
Aye.
Myself? Aye. Melissa? Aye. So all in favor?
Thank you.
So I have a question back to the HDC warrant article. Are we to draft, should I draft a letter to support that from the Historical
I'll
Commission?
draft it
Thank you.
on behalf of the commission.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you all
Um,
for the support.
So are there,
It's 10 minutes.
we can return to the minutes of March 11th. Does anyone have any changes or amendments to the minutes from March 11?
I thought they were beautiful.
They're beautiful. I have a very nitpicky grammatical under updates. I
Yep.
think it should read staff have received. As opposed to staff has,
Okay.
right? Other than that, they were lovely.
May I have someone please move to accept the minutes from March 11th? Bob, thank you. Bob Gross moves. Do I have a second? A second, someone? Tom, would you like to?
That's second. Yeah.
Thank
sorry.
you. All in favor? Nancy?
Aye.
Bob?
Aye.
Tom?
Aye.
Melissa? Aye. So the minutes are approved. That means we're all caught up with minutes.
Yay,
That's pretty amazing.
that's
I
pretty
think.
good. Yeah, that's very good.
Well, okay, well, I'm sorry that our Mr. Gower was not able to participate, but perhaps next month we will. So I think this would conclude the meeting. I just would ask you all again to review the presentation, and if you have any thoughts, suggestions, or questions you think might be posed, that would be very helpful as well.
This is a teeny bit out of order. Can I, as long as Peter's still here, I've been talking to Mass Historical Society. It appears that they have forums, training, whatever you want to say, about historical preservation practices, laws, and whatnot. They often do it with multiple towns, but I thought it might be an interesting twist on that to have some kind of a forum with Mass Historical that would involve HDC, CPC, maybe the roads people. I don't know, but
Yes,
so
you mean Mass Historical Commission, right? Not Mass Historical Society.
yeah, commission, MHC,
MHC.
Mass Historical.
Mhm.
So I thought that was kind of good that we would begin to build a relationship with Mass Historical so they know we're out here and working hard. So more about that later.
Sure.
Yes.
And I just, Nancy, I work with Mass Historical on projects as an architect, so I know folks there, and, you know, I've
Oh,
gone through
that's great.
the grant process and all that stuff. So,
Oh, that's,
yeah,
that-
let's talk more about that.
that's
a
great.
idea.
I think it would be really fun, especially if we could all get together and and actually see each other.
Yeah.
Over
It's
coffee.
coming. I just scheduled my first shot this morning.
Oh,
Ah.
good. Oh, good, good, good. It's coming. Okay, that's all I had. Sorry.
Okay, thank you. Can I just ask you, Peter, something about grants? Do you think you can put in a good word whenever we're around to write our grant to the
Sure,
mandates?
yeah, no, I know a lot of the folks over there. It did never occurred to me that I could connect that way, so happy to do
Yeah.
that.
Well,
Yeah, that
Yeah,
could be
no.
fun, and
Sure.
it could be fun to know them as people.
Yeah, they're kind of neat. They're
Yes,
very,
they
very,
are.
very much sort of geeks with historic preservation.
Yeah, I know.
well, that's what we need.
Right.
Well, okay, well, unless there's any other business, Heather, any other things that? No.
Nope.
Okay, well, then I would declare that the meeting is over. I thank you all very much. That was probably the fastest meeting we've ever had.
Very efficient.
So thank
Well
you. The
done.
next meeting.
There's going to be an award at town meeting, Melissa, for the most effectively run committee meeting. So
Oh, well,
now you're
this
in the
will not be
running.
it. You said effective.
Sorry.
We do try to
Different
have fun.
category, different category.
New category. Oh, that's funny.
Okay, well then, our next meeting is, I don't have in front of me, which it would be
May 27th.
May 22nd?
May
7.
27th.
Is there a reason it's so late in the month?
It's-
Because we had to move it because of some of the town public hearings. If there's a town meeting public hearing, like the select board public hearing or planning board, we can't hold our meeting at the same time.
Got it.
There you go.
Okay, okay. Well, yeah, and I still hope to have an update on historic preservation awards, because I still hope we get to have that program, but that really has to happen in person. So yeah,
Yeah.
everybody has to be shot by then,
Yeah.
so to speak.
Thanks, Susan.
Wait, say that a different way.
Okay, well, any updates, Susan? I can ask you, anything from the select board that we should know?
Lots.
Town meeting is coming up. Yeah,
Yeah,
we're prep for that. Yeah, there's a lot going on. I mean, the middle school committee had a 2.5-hour meeting this morning, and that'll continue next week. There's a lot. I off the top of my head, I could say just about every department has something going on in preparation for town
yeah,
meetings.
town meeting, okay.
The
Well, thank
hearings will be very informative. So as it was last year, it's really important that people tune in for the hearings, because that will really be the
Right,
opportunity for public input.
right.
It won't really happen at town meeting. This year is going to be similar to last year. So if you're interested in have feedback on any of the articles, please go to the hearing and let people know what you're thinking.
Yeah.
Thank you. Okay, well, thank you all. We'll see each other again May 27th, if not sooner.
Okay.
I declare that the meeting is over. Do I need a vote to end the
Yeah,
meeting?
someone could move in second.
So wait, may I have a motion?
Oh, I'll
end the
move,
meeting?
but I thought you could declare.
Can I move to end my own meeting here?
I don't know. I gotta clarify.
Second,
Thank you. Nancy moved it and Bob seconded it.
There we go.
Thank you. Tom, do I have an aye?
Yeah.
Thank you. An aye.
if we
Thank you,
click the
everybody.
leave button, we're clearly agreeing.
That's
All right.
right.
Good night.
Good night,
Good night, all.
everyone.
Good night, everybody.
See you.
Good
Nice to
night.
see you.
Good to see you.